So, breaking news, in this month's chapter Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, we discover that Moegi has secretly been in love with Konohamaru since part 1 of Naruto. Okay, admittedly, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but based on the context clues we get much later on in the chapter, it might not be that much of one. Anyway, we'll get to that when we get to it, but coming off the ending of the last chapter where we discovered the tragic fate of Sasuke, we immediately jump into a flashback, where we find out that after once again betraying the village and helping them escape, Sasuke immediately began training Boruto. And based on this flashback, it turns out that it only took Sasuke a year to teach Boruto everything he knew. Now, I mean, of course, there's things in Sasuke's arsenal that he can't teach Boruto, like his abilities with the Sharingan, and we can also assume that due to the danger of using it without the Sharingan, he most likely didn't teach Boruto how to use the Chidori, but every other skill and technique Sasuke has, he passed on to Boruto in just about a year, which in my opinion immediately makes Sasuke one of the best senseis we've seen in the entire series. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. I'm going to say both series, including Naruto, overtaking the previous best sensei Jiraiya, who taught Naruto much less in over twice as much time. But to Jiraiya's credit, he does at least get some redemption in the sensei department, as we can pretty much guess that it was more than likely his clone Kashinkoji that helped Boruto develop his Rasengan Uzuhiko and not Sasuke. Because if Boruto knew that technique when he was with Sasuke, then that final clash with Code at the end of the flashback most likely would have went down a lot differently. Instead of Sasuke heroically sacrificing himself to let his student escape, he would have been like, Boruto, dude, hit this guy with the power of a planet. Or, something along those lines, but much more dark and broody. But anyway, like I said, Sasuke has now become the #1 sensei in the entire franchise for training Boruto. And it's a good thing for us that he did, because after being trained by Sasuke, Boruto has finally become the main character that I think a lot of the fandom always wanted him to be, where without relying on his alien powers and just using his ninja abilities, he has become incredibly broken. And not so broken that he could just end up one-shotting all the new villains being introduced post a time skip, but broken enough to the point where I have a hard time believing anyone besides them and Kaoki can actually stand a chance against him. And this is something I think people tend to overlook because hating on Boruto as a character and the series has become a bit of a meme, and because he's done a lot of stupid things in both the anime and manga when he was younger, but Boruto is a born genius, just like his uncle Neji, so the fact that he was able to learn all of Sasuke's non-bloodline related techniques and skills so quickly isn't really that surprising. But I do like the fact that Sasuke points out that Boruto would still need time to master the techniques and truly make them his own, because it still leaves room for him to grow stronger and not make him a completely broken MC like his dad was by the end of Naruto. Honestly, the only complaint I have about this flashback is that I wish it was a lot longer, and maybe this is just the One Piece fan in me talking, because flashbacks in that series go on for so many chapters that they would be considered their own arcs in other manga. But I mean, come on dude, like you can't tell me that you wouldn't have loved to see a more drawn out sequence of the year these two spent together as master and student. Like, we really missed out on seeing the relationship develop between the two of them, because had we gone more into how in the beginning Sasuke probably was awkward and untrusting around Boruto, but eventually over the year as the two grew closer, he began to actually trust and care for the boy a lot more, then it would have made the moment when he tells Boruto that he reminds him of Naruto hit so much harder. And actually the sacrifice scene too as well. But hey, I get it. It's a monthly series, not a weekly or bi-weekly, so there's not really enough time to really dive too deeply into the flashbacks, because it will eventually end up slowing down the plot way too much. But, I really feel like at least one chapter of a full flashback would have been enough. Now, I gotta say, I have been very critical of Sasuke in the past. In fact, he might be my least favorite character in all of Naruto. But Boruto Sasuke has really turned my opinion around on him, because the Sasuke from Naruto, even after the final chapter, would have simply killed Boruto without a second thought once he heard that Boruto killed Naruto. But his love for his daughter Sarada has softened Sasuke, dare I say, actually made him somewhat human. To the point where instead of killing the boy who he believed killed his best and, let's be honest, only friend, he took him in and put his all into training him, and was even willing to give his life in order to protect him, all simply because Sarada believed in Boruto and Sasuke believed in her above even his own memories. And this is actually something extremely crucial for this chapter, because once we check in with the Shinju, we find out that outside of Boruto and Kaoki, they are each targeting someone else to eat, and the Sasuke Shinju decides he's going to go after Sarada. The Bug Shinju decides to go after Ada, which actually leads to a pretty cool scene where we see Ada using her Senrigan to peek in on them, only for a Bug to walk directly up to her and tell her that she's his target, which means that Ada has now been completely nerfed when it comes to that group, because anytime she checks in on them, they can see her too. But more importantly, one of the very few things we knew about Bug was that he was in love with Ada. Now, of course, it was all due to her ability, but still, she had a strong hold on his heart. and that emotion carried over to the bug Shinju, which is why he chose her as his target, because she was the one his heart had the strongest feelings for. It's also the reason why the Sasuke Shinju decided to target Sarada, because as his daughter, she's the one he holds the most love for. And this, going all the way back to the beginning of the video, is why I say that Moegi must have been in love with Konohamaru, because her Shinju chooses him as her target immediately when asked. And going off the bug and Sasuke Shinju, the requirement for this secondary target seems to be the person their human holds the most affection for. So, connect the dots. Which this was honestly a little surprising for me to figure out in this chapter, because for some reason I had thought that Udon and Moegi were already a thing in Boruto, but I guess I was completely wrong at that point. Now, interestingly enough, the leader of the group decides that Naruto is going to be his target, which really throws into question whose human is, because he looks just like Jigen, but he's dead. Sasuke already has a Shinju, and the only other people who would hold feelings this strong for Naruto haven't been treed yet. Now, that being said, there is the small possibility that Hinata was treated at some point, because we haven't seen her or Naruto post time skip, but the Shinju do take on the appearance of their human, and I don't think I really need to finish that sentence, because it's pretty obvious what I was going to say next. So the big mystery going forward is going to be discovering who this guy is. But you know what's not going to end up being a mystery? Figuring out if the Sasuke Shinju is going to end up betraying that group, because the answer to that question is clearly yes. Because one of the main goals for the Shinju is that each of them want to grow and evolve as individuals, and considering he's already starting to question their motives this early on, it's clear that the more he grows, the more of a problem this Shinju is going to become for the overall group. Like, I can already see it. Once we get to the point where him and Sarada are finally face to face, his connection to Sasuke is going to completely overwrite his Ten Tails programming, and he'll try to protect her or something along those lines. Hell, we might even see him sacrifice himself for Sarada, just like Sasuke did for Boruto. I'm not exactly sure when this will end up happening, but I am certain that before the series is over, we will see that exact event play out. I have to say though, one thing that I didn't see happening was that scene with Amado. Not the fact that he figured out that his memories were overwritten and that the Kaoki was not actually Naruto's son, but Boruto was instead, because I always figured that he would be like one of the first people to put the clues together on that, but keep that info to himself so that he can have something to hold over Kaoki. But what I didn't see happening was that through Amado, Shikamaru will end up finding out the truth this early on post the time skip. Shikamaru is my absolute favorite character from Naruto, but Boruto as a series, it hasn't been kind to him for plot reasons. So I honestly figured that it would be a long time before he even began to doubt the whole situation. But now we see him and Sai clear as day hearing from Amado himself that their memories on Boruto's real identity were tampered with, and that Boruto is more than likely Naruto's son, not Kaoki. So hopefully going forward, we see him begin to question things more in regards to what he knows about the two of them, which he's going to get plenty of chances to going forward as we end the chapter with Boruto returning to the village once again and reuniting with both Sarada and Sumeri, which honestly, this should be such a heartwarming and tear-jerking scene, seeing Sarada run up to Boruto the way she does and hug him so tightly, and then him hugging her back. But I couldn't help but feel a little awkward with Sumeri just sitting there watching the two of them as they hug. Like, you can tell that she wanted to do exactly what Sarada did as well, but is holding herself back out of consideration, which just makes me feel kind of bad for her in this moment, because just like Sarada, the reason why Sumeri's memories weren't overwritten is because she's also in love with Boruto. But you can see her in this moment realizing just by looking at the two of them embrace each other, that in this situation, she's the losing heroine. Anyway, now that Boruto's back and Shikamaru is starting to doubt everything when it comes to Kaoki and Boruto's true identities, he more than likely will go with Sarada's idea of teaming up to take down Code in order to keep Boruto around and close at hand, especially once he finds out about the Shinju and their connection to the people who were treed. But the big obstacles for this team up are going to be Kaoki and Mitsuki, since while for different reasons, both want nothing more than to kill Boruto, and both are less inclined to listen to others when they tell them not to. So it's going to be real interesting to see how this all develops going forward, but unfortunately we'll have to wait until the next chapter to find that out. But let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about this chapter, and what you think is going to end up happening in the next one.